What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Happy Hearings Day on a Tuesday. Okay, so I'm sorry that I'm delivering this video a little late. This is a reaction to the most interesting parts of the hearing that just happened in Washington. My friends Dan Cleary, Clint Weldon, Sander Jones, UAP Gerb were there. They were all inside of the room. I believe that Sander and Clint were the very last two people who made it in the room. I was happy that they were there. They managed to get a lot of good footage, and we got five people taking the stand. They took the oath. Amongst the most interesting parts that I'm not going to play for you guys is Mr. Jeff Nuccetelli's account. He spoke about five different accounts that happened at Vandenberg Air Force Base. He talked about the Red Cube one, which I've shown you before. He also talked about another four incidents. And I think that that was very important because Vandenberg Air Force Base is one of the hot spots from the military where a lot of these things happen. So it was necessary to have him there.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairwoman Luna, Ranking Member Crockett, and members of the task force for giving us the opportunity to testify today. My name is Jeffrey Nuccetelli. I'm a former military police officer with 16 years of active duty service in the U.S. Air Force. I'm here today because the American people have both the right and the responsibility to know the truth about unidentified aerial phenomenon. That truth remains hidden, classified and silenced by fear, retaliation, stigma, and confusion. Today, we are here to help break that silence. Between 2003 and 2005, 5 UAP incidents occurred at Vandenberg Air Force Base, home to the National Missile Defense Project, a top national security priority. At the time, we were conducting launches deemed by the National Reconnaissance Office as the most important in 25 years. These were historic launches. These facilities were vital, and they were repeatedly visited by UAP. Each incident was witnessed by multiple personnel, documented, investigated, and reported up the chain of command. We sent information up, but we got no guidance down on how to handle these events. I personally witnessed one of these events and investigated others as they occurred. 6 other service members have provided me with the information that I will share with you today. The incursions began on October 14th, 2003, when Boeing contractors reported a massive glowing red square silently hovering over 2 missile defense sites. After several minutes, it drifted further east onto the base and vanished over the hills. This event, now known as the Vandenberg Red Square, was referenced by Representative Luna at the first hearing on this topic. Official Air Force records of this event are in possession by Aero and the FBI. Later that night, while I was on duty, security guards at a critical launch site reported a bright, fast-moving object over the ocean. I responded to the incident. Chaos ensued over the radio as the object approached rapidly. I heard my friends screaming, "It's coming right at us, it's coming right for us, and now it's right here." Moments later, I heard them say that it had shot off and was gone. When I arrived on scene, I talked to 5 shaken witnesses who described a massive triangular craft larger than a football field that hovered silently for about 45 seconds over their entry control point before shooting away at impossible speed. About a week later, another patrol reported a light over the ocean behaving erratically. Believing it might be an unannounced aircraft, they declared an emergency, and an armed response force responded. Before the forces could arrive, the object descended and either landed or hovered on our flight line and then took off again at impossible speed. The witnesses to this event were threatened and intimidated afterward. They were told to keep quiet and think about what they were reporting. After that, things did get quiet until about 2005, when another patrol reported a massive triangular craft larger than a C-130, silently floating over the installation. He watched it for a few minutes. It traveled west and disappeared into the night. And then I had my own encounter, again in 2005. I was off duty, sitting in my backyard with two other police officers when we noticed what first appeared to be a satellite in orbit, but it wasn't acting like a satellite. The light was strange, it was pulsing, and then it started to maneuver. Dropped in elevation, at times it would vanish from view and reappear in a different location in the sky, and eventually it reappeared 200 feet over my house. It was a 30-foot diameter sphere of light. My friends and I watched it for a moment, and then it gently accelerated and traveled up and disappeared into the stars. These events profoundly changed my life and the lives of my friends. We stand at a pivotal moment in history. The question is no longer whether these events are real, but whether we have the courage to face them. True leadership requires vision, a willingness to confront the unknown with transparency and resolve. So I ask the Congress to help we, the people, enact this vision. There are three goals: fund independent research and treat UAP study with the same seriousness as we would any other scientific field.
Absolutely.
2, end secrecy and overclassification. Transparency is the foundation of truth. Without it, witnesses like us are dismissed. 3, protect the witnesses. Many stay silent out of fear for their careers, reputations, and the safety of their families. Protect them, and you will embolden others to join this cause. These phenomena challenge our deepest assumptions about reality, consciousness, and our place in the universe. Exploring them can unlock transformative breakthroughs in technology, biology, and human understanding. Let this be the moment when America chooses courage over fear, transparency over secrecy, and progress over stagnation. Let's show the world that our nation leads not only through strength, but through fearless pursuit of the truth. Thank you.
The other witness that was there was Alexandro Wiggins from the Navy. I think that his account on record is the most documented and the one that has the most data points that you can put together so you can tell a story. He's the only and the first active military member to come out on a hearing and speak under oath about this. He showed video. He reported on 4 different tic-tac shaped UFOs. And he claimed something that was interesting to me, that he already had said that he never got any type of pushback. So what does this tell you? Mr. Wiggins is from the Navy. And if you have been paying attention, the Navy is one of the entities in the government that is the most active in trying to find out what's going on. We have Commander Fravor, we have Ryan Graves, we have Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet.
From my experience operating in this region over many years, in our source frames that have been made public by journalists. From my experience operating in this region over many years and consistent with our public characterized encounters, unidentified objects reoccur in United States operation areas off Southern California. That fact alone does not tell us what they are, but it does argue the systematic stigma-free reporting and for the preservation of sensor data so analysts can evaluate safe and intelligence implications with rigor. I want to underscore 3 points for the task force and the committee. Aviation and maritime safety. When crews and watchstanders observe objects that maneuver or accelerate in ways that does not match known profiles and do so near our ships and aircraft, that is first and foremost a safety issue. Standardized checklists and training should ensure we capture the best possible sensor data in real time, including IR settings, slant range estimates, and bearing and range altitude snapshots, and immediate chain of custody for any recordings. Reporting without stigma, protection without retribution. Sailors need to know that reporting UAP encounters will not harm their careers. Congress can help by reinforcing witness protection and by directing the relevant office to maintain confidential, destigmatized channels for service members who step forward with data. Declassification and transparency where possible. The task force declassification mission is directly relevant here. Where operational security permits releasing metadata preserved sensor excerpts or at least technical summaries would improve public trust and accelerate outside scientific scrutiny. That includes, when feasible, the time geo-reference IR frames and radar parameters needed for independent analysis. To be clear, I am not here to make claims beyond my lane. I am here to provide a first-hand account of what I saw, what our systems recorded, and why it matters for safety, for intelligence, and public confidence. My request to you is practical. Help us capture, protect, fairly evaluate the evidence, and provide a safe pathway for those in uniform to report it. In closing, I want to thank the committee and the task force for holding this hearing and for placing this discussion in a forum where evidence can be examined carefully and openly. I appreciate your attention and stand ready to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
And we have much less people from the Air Force who are willing to come forward because the Air Force is way more secretive than the Navy when it comes to this topic. Although we still have David Grush and now Dylan Broland, who are from the Air Force as well. Grush was there. He was right behind Representative Burlison as one of his staffers. It was great seeing him there. The other one that was very interesting was George Knapp.
Good morning, Chairwoman Luna, Ranking Member, Ms. Crockett, and members of the task force. And Dina Titus, I just knew we were going to get you involved in this topic at one point. Great to see you here. I'm George Knapp, Chief Investigative Reporter at KLAS TV in Las Vegas. I began my pursuit of this weird mystery way back in 1987, and for 38 years, I've always approached this as a news story. It's not a matter of faith or belief. To me, it's a story, and it's an important one. I'm proud to be here alongside these witnesses today, men who have seen strange things and stepped forward to tell the world about it. Whistleblowers and witnesses who step up are routinely insulted, belittled, or worse. They risk their reputations, their careers, their clearances, their livelihoods, and sometimes much more than that, even their freedom. I know that one of the goals of the task force here is to figure out ways to protect whistleblowers and witnesses, and it's a tall order because so many of the things that happen to witnesses like these are extra legal. They're carried out by persons unknown, as Mr. Dave Grush, sitting up at the top of the room, knows all too well, including events in recent days that have happened to him. I want to share a couple of things that I've learned along the way on this long journey, and I submitted most of that in written form because I estimate that my statement here today would take about 4.5 hours, so I'm going to try to jump over and touch on the more important salient points. I submitted a detailed written statement for the record, and we'll go into a lot of that here, but the public has been told over and over since the late 40s, there's nothing to worry about here. These mysterious craft seen by millions of people in the skies, in the oceans, over the land are not real. They're not a threat. The witnesses are wrong. They're crackpots. Don't believe it. That changed for me. What got me hooked is the paper trail. Documents that were squeezed out of the U.S. government after the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, became the law of the land. And those documents paint a much different picture than what the public, the press, and Congress have been told over many years. The documents from military and intelligence personnel behind closed doors admit that, quote, these things are real. They're not fictitious. They can fly in formation. They're evasive, and they outperform any aircraft known to exist, including ours. The public, of course, as I said, has been told something much different. Back in 1989, I reported about a guy named Bob Lazar, who claimed that he worked at a facility dubbed S4 out in the Nevada desert, very near to Area 51. He said he was part of a reverse engineering program He said there are alien craft that will be taken apart to figure out how they operated out there, and that was a pretty tall order. I had clearly taken a dive into the deep end of the pool there. But in the years since then, I've interviewed dozens of other people, and I've detailed what their testimony has been in the written statement. They include Senator Harry Reid, Senator Howard Cannon, also of Nevada, a guy named Al O'Donnell, who was the first general manager of EG&G in Nevada, which managed the Nevada test site, which blew up hundreds of nuclear weapons. There's a guy named Dr. James Lakatsky, who was a career scientist with the Defense Intelligence Agency, who was the guy who initiated a program called OSAP, Advanced Aerospace Weapons Systems Application Program, which is, as far as we know, the largest acknowledged UFO program ever funded by the U.S. government, which put together an amazing pile of information that members of this committee and the world, most of which have never seen. The DIA still hasn't released 95% of what was prepared by that program at a cost of millions and millions of dollars. The one name I do want to bring up in this session, though, is Robert Bigelow. So looking into the idea of crash retrievals and reverse engineering, while OSAP, that program, was active, the DIA's contractor, Robert Bigelow of Las Vegas, made a bold attempt to acquire physical proof of UFO crashes. It's been widely reported and suspected that Lockheed Martin is one of the contractors, the defense contractors, that has held this stuff, stored it away in secrecy, and tried to figure out how it works. I have confirmed on the record that Robert Bigelow and a trusted colleague from OSAP met with and negotiated with senior executives at Lockheed Martin and hammered out a deal wherein Bigelow's company, Bass, would receive a quantity of unusual material that had been stashed away and protected at a facility in California. That material was not made here. I want to move on now to the Russia files, because that was going to be sort of the central impetus of what I was going to talk to you about today. Back in the early 90s, I got into Russia, met with a number of their defense officials, Ministry of Defense and others, who confirmed for me that Russia had been doing the same thing that the United States had been doing, that is, secretly studying UFOs while publicly saying something completely different. The documents and interviews that I obtained and have now shared with this task force show that the USSR launched what is almost certainly the largest UFO UAP investigation in the world. The first phase of that was an order was sent out to the entire USSR military empire that every unit, you see anything strange in the sky, a craft, an orb, something unusual, you had to gather all the evidence, collect testimony from the witnesses, look for physical evidence, and all of that information went into one program at the Ministry of Defense. Thousands and thousands of these reports came in. A lot of them were first routed to the KGB, but then back to another program that came after this collection effort called Thread 3. And Thread 3 was an analysis program. We have provided to the committee the documents of what they were trying to do, and essentially they were trying to build their own UFOs. They were using the information from their observations and studies to try to figure out that technology. The guy who was in charge of that program, Colonel Boris Sokolov, told me that their goal was to basically develop technology that would be superior to anything we had, based on what they learned from UFOs.
Mr. Knapp, just in the name of time,
Sure.
to my understanding, did you have anything you wanted to submit for Congress to see in this committee?
I have submitted those documents.
Would you like to play any videos? Do you have a video that you would like to play?
I don't think it's for me to play.
No, that was for Alexander.
Yeah, Alexander's video.
Okay.
You could play it, he could narrate it.
Okay. We can, in the name of showing that video to everyone on task force, we'd like to play that video at this time.
Sure.
Wouldn't surprise you, I tell you. You call it the VVSS team.
That like 22,000 feet.
That shit took off earlier.
If we can get rid of the audio real quick. Mr. Wiggins and Mr. Knapp, we'll get back to what that video was in a moment, but we just want to make sure that it was entered into the record, as well as all the documents. Those will be able to be publicly found.
And George really went out of his way to talk about all the details. He spoke about John Lear. He spoke about Bob Lazar. He mentioned what he did right after he came back from the Soviet Union with those documents. He was confirmed by multiple parties that these documents are legit. And he confirmed that the Russian government has had a UFO program at least since the 70s.
You'll see those files that I shared with you. They did find stuff. There was an incident in October of 1982 over an ICBM base where UFOs popped up, was observed over this base where the missiles are pointed at us, United States. These UFOs perform incredible maneuvers. They split apart, they fuse back together, they'd appear and disappear. And right at the end of this 4-hour period, the launch control codes for the ICBMs lit up. Something entered the correct codes. The missiles were fired up and ready to launch, and they could not shut it down. The Russian officers were panicking. The UFOs they disappeared. The launch control system goes back to normal. Colonel Sokolov and his team came in, took the thing apart, could not figure out what it was. It wasn't a power surge or EMPs or some of the baloney excuses that our country has given for similar events involving our nuclear missiles. They thought it was a message from wherever the UFOs were from. And that's a chilling thing. I mean, we were a couple of seconds away from World War III starting, and the UFOs were responsible for it.
All right, I'm at it.
I think that he was the one who commanded the hearing. He was the one who wasn't afraid. He named names. He named someone from Lockheed Martin. He named Glenn Gaffney from the CIA.
I have a name for you.
Go ahead.
Glenn Gaffney, CIA.
Glenn Gaffney, CIA. Another question for you, Mr. Knapp.
Gaffney famously blocked material transfer when Lockheed allegedly wanted to give one of these crashed vehicles to Robert Bigelow. And Gaffney was the person reportedly who stopped that from happening. So there's a lot there. Knapp also mentioned Robert Bigelow, James Lakatsky. He mentioned them on record.
The one name I do want to bring up in this session, though, is Robert Bigelow. So looking into the idea of crash retrievals and reverse engineering, while OSAP, that program, was active, the DIA's contractor, Robert Bigelow of Las Vegas, made a bold attempt to acquire physical proof of UFO crashes. It's been widely reported and suspected that Lockheed Martin is one of the contractors, the defense contractors, that has held this stuff, stored it away in secrecy, and tried to figure out how it works. I have confirmed on the record that Robert Bigelow and a trusted colleague from OSAP met with and negotiated with senior executives at Lockheed Martin and hammered out a deal wherein Bigelow's company, Bass, would receive a quantity of unusual material that had been stashed away and protected at a facility in California. That material was not made here.
So that gives Congress an opening to potentially call them to testify. And if they don't want to, subpoena them, because they do seem to have a lot of information about what's going on, and they have to come forward. They have to be public about this. So good on Knapp for doing that. I think that was great. But the most important person for me was Dylan Broland, because this story about the black triangle that he already told you guys about on his statement was a story that I had already heard a couple of times before. And it was very interesting to hear him go in detail about it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play you his initial statement from his mouth. And then Congresswoman Luna is going to ask him directly more details about this sighting. And afterwards, I have the big surprise, the big moment from the hearing, which was that video that was shown. And I want to see it with you guys, and so you guys can tell me what you think about it. We have Representative Burlison explaining the video. But first, let's go with Mr. Dylan Broland. Shout out to UAP James for this clip. He says, U.S. Air Force veteran Dylan Broland testifies on witnessing a silent 100-foot equilateral triangle, which rapidly ascended to commercial jet level in seconds at Langley Air Force Base. This was back in 2012. I was further exposed to classified information from the UAP Legacy Crash Retrieval Program. So here's Mr. Dylan Broland to me, alongside Grush and Matthew Brown, who was also there. He's right next to Corbell's right. You can't see him there, but when we get like a more panoramic look, you will get to see him. He was right behind George Knapp. So that was great to see as well. So here's Dylan.
My name is Dylan Broland, a former 1N1 geospatial intelligence specialist for the United States Air Force in an active duty enlisted capacity from 2010 to 2013. I've also been employed with BAE Systems and Intrepid Solutions as a senior analyst, expert in analyzing video, radar, and advanced electro-optical imagery for official identification of aerial order of battle, as well as naval and ground order of battle. I'm a federal whistleblower, having testified to both the ICIG and ARROW with direct firsthand knowledge of and experience with craft and technologies that are not ours and are reportedly operating without congressional oversight. Because of my direct knowledge of the reality of certain legacy UAP programs, my professional career was deliberately obstructed, and I have endured sustained reprisals from government agencies for over a decade. From 2011 to 2013, I was stationed at Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, conducting 24-hour operations via manned and unmanned aerial vehicles for Special Operations Forces in the global war on terror. During the summer of 2012, my team was on standby for weather, and I returned to my barracks on base, and at approximately 01:30, I saw an approximately 100-foot equilateral triangle take off from near the NASA hangar on the base. The craft interfered with my telephone, did not have any sound, and the material it was made of appeared fluid or dynamic. I was under this triangular craft for a few minutes, and then it rapidly ascended to commercial jet level in seconds, displaying zero kinetic disturbance, sound, or wind displacement. Some years after that experience, I was further exposed to classified information from the UAP Legacy Crash Retrieval Program through a sensitive position I held within a special access program. During this time, intelligence officers approached me in fear for their own careers, citing misconduct within these programs and similar retaliation that I was already enduring at this time. These issues include medical malpractice committed by Veterans Affairs staff, denial of work I performed while enlisted in the United States Air Force, forged and manipulated employment documents, workplace harassment, including colleagues being directed to not speak with me, manipulation of my security clearance by certain agencies, blocking, delaying, and ultimately removing my ability to be employed within the IC. The retaliation I face and the retaliation against individuals I know who worked in these programs is what convinced me in March 2023 to become a whistleblower. I came forward out of concern for people's lives and to ensure I did everything I could to let our elected representatives know the truth about what is really happening in the executive branch. At the end of March 2023, I agreed to meet with ARROW following the suggestion of other federal officials believing it was what our nation required of me. I had reservations with ARROW due to assessments they were reporting publicly at the time as a misrepresentation of the truth. Because of these concerns, I did not share sources and methods information in order to protect current and former federal personnel who had firsthand exposure to technologies of unknown origin. I did not want anyone to face further retaliation beyond what they had already endured. And unfortunately, a staff member ended up getting in some trouble because of that. After David Grush testified under oath in the summer of 2023 and provided historic disclosure, I was then asked to go to the ICIG and did so in August 2023. It was very clear early on during my intake interview, which was video recorded under oath, that the objective was to solely assess how much I know and not move forward with an investigation with new information I provided them. The aftermath of that IG complaint still troubles me to this day. Since my ICIG complaint, I've been prevented from resuming prior employment and can confirm I'm still blacklisted from certain agencies within the intelligence community. In addition, multiple agencies attempted phishing attacks to assess what I had divulged to the Inspector General, including being asked to disclose details of my ICIG complaint during a CI polygraph for a position unrelated to UFO UAP matters as recently as November 2024. As I sit before you today, I and many other whistleblowers have no job prospects, no foreseeable professional future in a nation every single one of us came forward to defend. Numerous individuals have come forward in various ways to reveal the truth of the UAP reality as patriots and defenders of our nation. Yet many feel discarded, isolated, hopeless, separated from the country they serve. Efforts to rectify this situation for all whistleblowers have been difficult and troubling. And to my fellow whistleblowers and officials who know this information, I offer you my apology, something that I have never gotten, and I'm giving it to you. I swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States, an oath that demands truth and transparency for our democratic republic to function. Each day, these truths remain hidden from our citizens. Humanity drifts further from the principles our nation was founded to uphold. Each day, victims of crimes committed by agencies and companies maintaining this secrecy are denied justice is another day our Constitution is shredded. In 2023, Patriots provided this committee and the executive branch with undeniable proof of the UAP reality, and I commend your continued commitment. The future of humanity is one which we either travel to the stars or regress to the Stone Age with this technology. My career has been to deliver critical information to decision makers. Your role as elected by your representatives is to act on it. The time to act is now. Thank you.
Thunderous applause. And yeah, he's been fucked with quite a bit. It's really sad to see someone like that, because in the hearing, he also mentioned that he's living off of unemployment right now. And he was like 3 weeks away from getting that taken away from him, and being blacklisted for coming forward and talking about this stuff should not happen in a country like the US. So it's not just the Congress people, it's not just the whistleblowers who are doing the effort. It's you, the American. You have more power than you imagine. You can just give your representatives a call, bother them all the time, call them every day, tell them that you want for this information to come out. Call your senators as well. They're the ones who have the information. They were already shown everything, and they're not saying it. They're not releasing it to the public. Why is that? The longer you guys take to take action, to talk to your representatives, to your politicians, the longer situations like Dylan's are going to continue. And they're going to continue to be blacklisted. They're going to continue to be ostracized, stigmatized, and ridiculed. And they don't deserve that, especially people like him. They made a tremendous sacrifice. Just yesterday, Matthew Brown spoke about this too, how his family life has been deeply affected by him coming forward. And bless his wife, man. The wives make a tremendous sacrifice as well. And they understand how grave the situation is, but not receiving a positive response from the people by just doing that, just calling your politicians. That's not cool. You have to do it. I am not an American. If I was, I would be calling these politicians every fucking day. And you guys have to. You just have to. And this hearing was the proof that this is what is needed. Participation from the general populace in this. We can all do our part. I know that many of you are like, I'm just sitting here. I have nothing to do with this. I'm just a civilian. You guys are the ones with the most power. I'm telling you that right now. Here's the other one where Luna asks Dylan more details about his sighting, this is the part that wasn't in the statement. And this is really revealing as well. So shout out to the Astral, who is the producer at the Need to Know podcast. And he has a major presence in social media. He clipped this. Shout out to Astral for this one. So here it is.
Mr. Borland, in your testimony, you described witnessing large triangular craft while stationed at Langley Air Force Base in 2012. Can you explain what you observed in terms of size, behavior, and why you're confident it was not conventional technology?
Great question, ma'am. So on barracks, on the base, I lived in the barracks. There was a little smoke pit outside. I was there on the telephone and looking across to the flight line, and I see a white light pop up and stop about 100 feet in the air. I thought it was a weather balloon. I've seen tests from there before, weeknight, normal thing, not surprising. I actually finished my cigarette and I began walking up towards the flight line. There is a track, and because I was on 3 months of night work, I would walk the track at night when we were weather down. And as I began walking towards the light, towards the flight line and the track, the light then flies across the base, across the flight line, and as it flies to me, a triangle manifests around the light. I can't tell you if it's active camouflage. I can't tell you if it appeared around the light, but I can tell you that it was a white light and then it was a triangle. It stopped about 100 feet in front of me and approximately 100 feet above me. My telephone got extremely hot, completely froze, dead. I remember how thick it was. It was between 1 to 2 stories thick, equilateral triangle. I could never see the top of it, and the edges were 90 degrees. There were 4 lights in total, 1 light on each corner and a larger light in the center, 2 to 3 times the size of the corner lights. But what was really odd was the outside. The best way to describe it is like looking at a James Webb telescope picture where you have the colors and then the black background. So the craft itself was this black metallic flake paint, but on top of the craft was this gold, lava, plasma, some type of fluid going over and around the craft. I'm under this for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then the center light flashes 2 to 3 times, no sound, immediately shoots up to commercial jet level minimum, in my opinion. And I immediately feel static electricity all over my body. And then I smell the smell of after a thunderstorm or lightning storm, that really strong summer thunderstorm smell. Gets up to flight level. I'm trying to get my phone reset, and I can only see the center light at this point. If I didn't actually see it take off, I would have thought it was a star. And then it hovers up there and it begins to slowly move due east out over the Atlantic Ocean. I finally got my phone reset. The entire thing was about, from the time I saw the light pop up near the hangar until it took off out over the ocean, was about 15 minutes.
Okay, so that was pretty detailed. The part about his cell phone was particularly interesting to me. The 2 stories that I heard before were that there were more devices that were also rendered useless at the moment. I think the battery was drained or something, but that's interesting. What type of electromagnetic pulse was released by this thing? Also, there were moments where Dylan was asked directly if he thought that this was US technology or maybe reverse engineered. And he did say that he thought that for many years, and now he doesn't. That was interesting to me. So, black triangles are officially on congressional record. I find that to be one of the most interesting parts of this hearing. I don't know what you guys think, but the best part saved for last. And this one comes from a clip made by my buddy Tom Thompson, who is Cortex Zero on X. And he showed the UFO or object that was taken down by an R9X missile outside of the United States. And this video was the one that everybody was raving about last night, that was going to be, I heard, better than the gimbal video. I don't know about that, but let's watch it and I'll talk to you guys after, and we'll watch it on a loop as we talk about it. So here it is. Shout out to Tom.
I want to queue up a video that I've been given.
Pause. You see David Grush right there, right behind Mr. Burlison. Shout out to David Grush.
And as before it starts, I'm going to describe. This was taken October 30th of 2024. This video is of an MQ-9 drone tracking an orb, or this object, off the coast of Yemen. You'll see that another MQ-9 launched a Hellfire missile. That you cannot see that drone, and so I'm not going to explain it to you. You'll see exactly what it does.
Okay, so here goes. That's obviously the tracking system, and that's a round object or oval shaped object, almost like an egg. You see that it's kind of rotating like the gimbal. And then you see the missile, it hits it, it goes down a little bit. I don't know if it hits the water, but that cut was kind of strange. Why didn't they just follow the thing that was hit by the missile? Then the object
This
appears
is when
again
it zoomed out. So
there.
you can still see it traveling.
So let's play it again, but this time I got the video right here with me. Here it is. I thought it was really interesting when the thing started rotating like the gimbal as it was moving. That was really strange to me. And then you can see the missile appear there. Boom, it hits it. And then it gets the zoom out. When it hits it, it kind of seems like a soft type of object, which I found really strange. And then the zoom out appears that shows that the object is still traversing the water. I don't know what you guys think about this one. People were raving about it. I think it's an interesting video, but, and I just got to say this, I know for a fact that because Representative Burlison himself did mention this on that Twitter space, that he has seen video, and he presumably has that video of up close triangular object that was recorded by Michael, the civilian whistleblower, who tried to testify. In fact, I can tell you exactly what happened with Mike and why he didn't testify. So what happened was that his demand essentially was that he wanted a polygraph issued beforehand on all the information that he was going to give. And he was asking for the polygraph to be applied to every other witness at the hearing. That's the same type of polygraph that they use for the top security clearance, which is TSSCI. And he just wanted to sit at a table with folks who had done the same. He wasn't sure if it was the UAP caucus who didn't like it or the intelligence community folks who all know he's passed polygraphs before already. But someone shut him down from testifying. And Ross Coulthard recently said that there was a firsthand witness that was shut down from testifying. I just wonder if it's the same guy, Michael. He offered and he wanted to be the first one to be tested. He offered 3 times and he got no response. Now, I haven't heard from him in a while. If I haven't heard from him in a while, I would think that he probably got what he wanted. He probably already got some type of a contract with some type of a private company. That would be my guess. But it's really unfortunate that, yeah, this video is good. I'm not going to lie to you. I like this video. I think the hearing overall was a step forward. I think we got back on track after the 2023 hearing, because last year's hearing, I'm sorry, but it was not what people were expecting. And it left a lot of different sour aftertastes of everything that happened in there. And this one was very different. I think it was a good one. But my only objection to this was, I know, and based on what Burlison already said himself, that they already have up close 4K video of a black triangle about 50 yards away, and they're not showing that one. Again, I ask you, call your representatives, call your senators, ask them to release the information that they already have and that they already saw personally. There's no reason for them to keep that information, absolutely at all. So yeah, this hearing was a good one. I think it was a step in the right direction. I think that Mr. Joe Spielberger, I think was his name. He spoke about whistleblower protections. I think that was a very interesting and important topic to cover too. But overall, I really liked Congresswoman Luna. I really liked Congressman Burlison. Their questions, Representative Moskowitz too. He was really good with his questioning. There were a couple of people who got partisan with their questioning, which I thought was really unfortunate. I don't think, and I will keep saying this, I don't think you should get partisan politics into this conversation. It has no absolute use to do that. So whoever did it, please check yourselves. You can't keep doing that. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm just gonna leave a link to the entire thing in the description for everyone who missed it. I'm gonna leave a link to the discussion after the fact on Chris Leto's channel. We had a couple of sound issues at the beginning, but we managed to work through it, and then it was a really good conversation. But let me know what you think. And I got, hopefully, if he finds time afterwards, because he told me he would, but anything can happen when you're like in Congress trying to get interviews. We got Matt Laszlo on deck. He's going to be on the show later today. That interview is going to release later today as well, right after we record it, as soon as I can get it up. And he's going to talk to me and to all of you about everything that he saw before, during, and after the hearing. Be aware of that. But for now, that is all. Let me know what you think in the comments about the overall hearing. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you think it was a nothing burger, as they say? Did you like the video? What do you think about Dylan Broland's testimony? What did you think about George Knapp, Wiggins, Nuccetelli, and Mr. Spielberger? Let me know everything in the comments. I'll be reading you guys. And thank you for sticking with me. Always. If you like the content you see, I'm going to ask you to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That's all you need to do in order to help us. And it is what helps us the most. So thank you. But if you want to support us in other ways, there's a few links down there you can choose from. You can become a member in YouTube, or you can support us through KGRA. Anything you choose to do is always appreciated. So thank you. That's it for me today on this video, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, stay curious and inquisitive, like everybody who testified today, but exceptionally, Mr. George Knapp and Mr. Dylan Broland. Always. Bye.